Good morning. Today we're drawing some peripheral sprites, so a bunch of extra things to basically round up this drawing phase, and we're very close to having the game kind of finished, so this is good. So angel wings. So we want to have sight. So yeah, I've just exported these. Because we did some changes to the staffs, so that there's more of like a consistent visual language faction. Like, so there's the same, it's the same weapon, the same like orb on top of the staff, but the staff looks a bit different just to, you know, match the faction. And I did that in code as well, which wasn't too difficult. Just pointed to a different sprite on the upgrade. Well, I wonder if that will work with the weapon. I'll have to find out, because yeah, it may end up still showing the old one, which means I'll have to just do a little bit of fiddly code, which shouldn't be too difficult. Just point to the upgrade sprite rather than the weapon sprite. I think that would be easier than making new weapons. We'll get to that when we get to it. Okay, but for now, I want to. So the first one we have on the list is the spicy beans, and we have this character, which is a floating eye. And this eye needs wings. So I'm going to make that into a completely new thing, because this is sort of bespoke stuff, right? These are peripherals that go on the side of something. And yeah, I think 64 by 64 is probably fine. Just judging off, you know, relative to this other one. So yeah, let's zoom in a bit. Use my screen space. And let's try and make a square the same size. Yeah. So we can zoom out a bit. That's a square. 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 Yeah. About the same size, just visually. Just so we can know. And I'm just going to do one frame of animation for these wings. And we need to think about, like, so I think the creature I'm thinking of here, the Occupaba, will have bat wings, but the evolved version will have angel wings, which is a bit of work. They could just have the same wings. Perhaps they should just have the same wings. Just I could do the bat wings and then recolor them. But I'm gonna have a look at bat wings. I mean, we couldn't do like a wing that feels like it's between a bat and an angel. So he's not going to have claws to kind of make it make sense. But I'm going to draw from left to right, and we kind of have this shape, something like that. I don't know if that line ends up feeling too long. And yeah, I mean, my visual IQ isn't great, but the sort of the top of the wing. Yeah, it bends, and then we kind of end up in the same place there. And then from this point up here, there are lines. And I'm just going to draw these. I'm not sure we'll use these, but just as a guide. And the first line comes into this shape here. It folds in around there. And then the next line, and this is... Yeah, it doesn't come down so much. So let's just do a straight line there. Straight lines always feel awkward on organic creatures, but you know. And then the next line comes down like this. And then the next line comes down like this. And then each of these little gaps here has a... So what did I name this stream? I just realized I probably haven't named it right. I'm going to call it Drawing When You Can't Draw, because that last time I did that title, How to Draw When You Can't Draw, people seem to show up for that. So Drawing When You Can't Draw. Because yeah, we are learning a bit of that, I think. We're learning a little bit of... So I'm not an artist. A good artist could just probably say Batwing and then they're kind of there. They know what a bat wing looks like, and I know what a bat wing looks like. But once I actually try and draw it, I realize I don't really know what a bat wing looks like, and there's certain little rules that I have to follow to make it look like a bat wing. Okay, and so what is our color? So, I mean, should it be that same sort of just white, kind of eye white, just to match the creature? Should the creature be red or black? Like, because we're not necessarily thinking. I was like, it's not necessarily a biblical angel. It could be like a Final Fantasy, you know, the eye creatures with, you know, like the little bat wings. Okay, so then what we need is our off-white here, which I'm going to use for these bits. Because yeah, we're not. These don't have to be too impressive. I'm just trying to. Just trying to like it's a wing. Nothing too crazy or complicated. It's a wing. It's not a fancy wing. It's not an impressive wing. It's just a wing that people look at and say, yes, that is a flying Cyclops thingy with wings. And that's all we want. We don't need them to say, oh wow, look at the art direction in this game. We don't need them to say anything like that. We just need them to say, ah, yeah, that's a wing. Without being like, what is that weird blobby shape? Because that can happen. People can be like, what is that weird blobby shape? Oh, right, it's a wing. No, we want them to go, oh yeah, it's a wing. Not even think about it cognitively. So have we ended up creating a weird blobby shape? I can't really just drag that in there. I mean, I can copy and paste it in, but we would need to make the space. Okay, yeah, so shading. So if we've got this dark line here, I don't know if that should be black. Because I think black is too strong, but I think... And should we get another colour that's less dark to fill in, just to shade it? And where would the shading be? Like my instinct...
You know, it's just...
that's not... My instinct is... So I'm looking at these pictures here. And I'm just thinking about where the shading exists. Like, I think actually, yeah, a lighter tone of shade around these parts will just add depth. I mean, again, maybe we don't want depth, but when I say depth, it's kind of like the difference between, oh, what is that blobby shape? Or like, oh, right, that's a wing, to not even thinking about it. Just, oh, yeah. There's one of those floaty eye things that I've seen in fantasy stuff before. And yeah, I know what a batwing looks like, but yeah, just by following this guide here, just by like using the reference and just kind of like really stopping. I guess that's one of the first steps of like becoming a better artist, is like understanding how inept you are, and that actually you don't understand what things look like. So you need to check, you need to think about it, you need to stop and study it, because you actually don't know. It's probably an easier way to do this shading, but kind of meditating on the image as I do it as well. Yeah, I think this is shaping up, because it can, if I do these bits of shading, it can end up just looking messy. Are you off? Okay, have fun, babe.
Thank you, Larry. See you later.
See you later. Okay, and then I imagine we would have a little bit of this shading here too, but not corner inclusive. Really makes a difference in how emphasized it feels, because the thing is, you don't want to overdo these things. You don't want to overdo it. I think I should leave that there, because you can end up like over detailing an object, and then it does kind of start to look like a bit of messy mash that nobody really understands what it is. You can take away from the fact that it's a wing by adding too much shading and whatnot. But I think this is a nice like bit of detail. It's not lazy. It's just, you know, it's organic. It was drawn by hand. It wasn't systematically made. We kind of leave in. We could go in and be like, oh, should this be a double corner or a single? I think it's just since I thought about it. No, it should actually be. We should cut these corners here because they're not. Because I think they do actually add to a sense of this thin wing. Just as bats' wings are very thin. Yeah, that actually does look miles better now that I've. So yeah, I wasn't gonna, but having a look, like yeah, this actually this feels right, and so these are just gonna go flat. They're gonna rotate in Unity. And then for the evolved one, I think it might just be fair just to use the same wings, because the creature itself evolves, so we don't actually then have to draw angel wings. Maybe, yeah. I mean, I think this is fine. I'm not trying to like. I'm trying to be as simple as possible here. So yeah, let's call this, and we'll call it sprites, characters, and I guess we'll make like a folder called like character peripherals, and we'll call this wings or batwing. Okay. Yeah, so we saved that and then we want to export it. Sprites, characters, peripherals, batwing, and then let's pop it straight on. You know, we don't have a huge list of sprites to do, so there's no point stacking this now that we've drawn it. Let's jump into Unity, find the sprite, characters, character peripherals, batwing, and we just do the usual. I think there is a way, I have done it in other projects, where everything you import just comes in with the same settings. And I probably could have saved myself some time on this project by doing that, but very marginal. So we open the sprite editor, although I don't think there's anything, except I think it might be fun to have the pivot here just so that we can easily animate it. I don't know if we want to do nested. So like it could be in a parent object, but I don't think it needs to be. I don't know if I'm maybe I should do that just because it's good practice to just always put animated things in a parent object, but I kind of want to find the line. I think we don't need a parent object. So we'll go Occufaber. And yeah, as long as we just mess with this prefab, should be fine. So we go again, sprites, peripherals, batwing. We just drag that in. That becomes a sprite renderer. And we will give that sprite renderer the same dimensions and whatnot here. So yeah, it's multiplied by 3. So we copy component, transform component, and paste component values. Okay. Okay, the first thing I notice is the white looks the wrong color, but I think that could be a sprite diffuse versus sprite default. Although I don't know if we need sprite diffuse. That was a lighting thing, but let's just make this sprite diffuse. Just so it matches. Yeah, and that does match. And so where does the wing sit? So if this is at 0, the wing should generally be, we'll turn off snapping, the wing should be like behind. So the wing is at -1. I wonder if that's going to mess with... I generally run into problems where that kind of ends up messing with... like it will be behind something else in the scene, like it could end up being behind the floor or something, and I need to figure out exactly how to do that. I think we should make a parent object that just sort of exists in the middle. So yeah, wings, and that will have the animator on it. So we'll have that wing, wing L, wing R, and let's just like round these numbers. So I think that is actually the right spot for it. So that will be yeah, just round the numbers. Just get rid of the last point. And then how does this look? Maybe we should get this one. So yeah, we'll and I think this is going to be a really simple case of just having an animator here that is just always on, but I need to go to the toilet, so I'll be right back. And I will just pause the camera briefly. I'll be right back. Oof. Okay. Turn the camera back on. Oh look, there we are. Oof. Punished for what I ate yesterday. Oh, but you don't need to know that. Right, okay, I think we have wings here. So yeah, let's do an animator. God, I haven't used animator for a while, but the way I do it is I create, and then we go assets, animation, and I never really tidy up this folder. It never really comes up. But let's do, yeah, a character. Let's just pop it here. Flapping. And then this should work. Like if we wanted to change the wings, this animation would work there too. So there doesn't need to be any other one. We just go straight to, and principles of animation. So it's like 4 down, 8 up. It's going to be really tricky to get this right. So and do we move or do we just rotate? And the other thing I want to think about is, because this is a game with lots of characters, lots of stuff going on, I kind of want to keep it subtle. So we could do the full whoosh, 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 or we could do which one is best? So I'm struggling to think of examples of this in other games. So, I mean, you know, Vampire Survivors Bat. And the bat, like, it doesn't even flap, really. So maybe that's not the example. But, like, yeah, flapping wings. So the wing goes down and maybe down. So yeah, let's not overthink it. Let's make that a... yeah, always has to move in tandem on the Z. So I just need to think about what looks like the right position. And are we squishing and stretching, or are we skipping that? I mean, bat flying animation. Okay, so they don't come so far down. I mean, I could be overthinking this. So I'm just looking at some animations here. It's just bat flying animation, just so I can see it. And here we have one in slow motion. So they kind of unfurl and then down, and then unfurl and then down. I might be overthinking this, because it could just be whip, 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 whip. It could just go wobble, wobble, wobble. But I think this is the kind of, like, I'm better at animation than I am at drawing, I think. So we rather than, yeah, so it comes down and in. So let's say that's 4 frames, might be less. And let's round this to 35. And then let's round these 2. I think it's good to round your numbers where possible, just so that you've got, I don't know why, like some kind of consistency, easy to remember numbers that sort of, you know. Okay, so the wing. So I mean, it's going to appear to come forward. So I mean, should we rotate it like that? No, it's coming down. So I feel like in terms of stretch. Okay, we need to unlink these. In terms of stretch, it would be like thinner there. let's say 2.5, just marginally. But like at this point, it's at 3. And then it has that movement, and let's say 4 and 6, it has that movement of unfurling. So it needs to come back up for starters. And I think we can just kind of copy the rotation, or if we just copy everything. I think we might want to avoid the stretching, because I think the best thing for this game, for this... I mean, they really come up above the bat's head. I think the best thing for this game is to just keep it simple, so we could get rid of the squash and stretch. So that's... Like, that's too fast. So, it's just for starters. Stretch that and just see how we feel about it. That feels right. And I think the stretching is barely noticeable, which means it's probably doing
as the sun goes down every evening in Northern Australia.
So what we need to do is basically copy that to the right wing, which would be, and this is why it's nice to have clean numbers. So we go, so what was it? So the L goes minus 35. So we go minus 35. Oh no, we go plus 35. And then the position is 655. So we go minus 6.5.5. Okay, minus 0.6. And at the same points of the scale, we go 3. Unlink those. 3. 2.5. And then we just copy all of that once again over here. And then we should have a flapping beast. And that's not too distracting, I don't think. I think it's cool to have for like the demons. Like there's going to be a few of these guys floating around and it's going to look interesting. It might look too noisy. What we might end up doing is just like shrinking the hell out of these wings. Like maybe the wings should be more like this in terms of size. Just to really not get in the way. You know? Maybe that's what I should have done, like, because this ends up being too wide. I don't know if that's fun, like it's something a bit different, or whether we do just want the tiny wings to just not disrupt the scene too much, right? Because it's gonna be a bit noisy having 100 of these guys flapping about. Or is it fun? Would we perhaps prefer to have? So yeah, let's have this guy. And it's just entry into that, and then that loops. So it should just be a very simple operation. Like I don't need to touch anything else. That'll just animate on play. It might. Yeah, we'll have to see. I think it should just be entry point turns on. So anytime we turn it off and on again, it should just play. Yeah. So if I feel like this doesn't work, I will consider smaller wings. Okay. Yeah, that is. Angel wings. Oh, okay. So yeah, we need to put this on each of the Occufabers. Now, here's a question: Should I make a prefab? Right? Like, should I make a prefab of these wings so that if I edit them, I can edit? Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do that. I am gonna make a prefab, even though it's probably never gonna come up. So can we do a prefab for, again, like character peripherals? Maybe that's where it would go. Maybe it would just go here in the effects folder, like its wings. Because I don't want to overload the character folder. So let's make it. Let's call it an effect, and let's call it character peripheral. And then here we have wings. And then so if I edit one of them, I edit all of them. And then we go into, so save that. And then we get our spicy beans, all of our, oh, maybe we give it to the gargoyle as well. Like maybe a few of these have wings. And then is it going to be bouncing like the other ones? I don't know. Like, should it just be like floating? So we change the walk animation. We have one which is, instead of bouncing, it's just floating, and it just, like, it doesn't even have a move animation because it's just flying. It's just like an idle hover. Let's see. Yeah, that could be good. So can I copy it from here? And I think it still keeps the prefab effects. Yeah, it does. I do have to save it each time. Yeah. Okay. So they now have wings. We could consider, should I write these down? Like, consider, like it's just going to come up when I see it. I'm going to be like, oh, this scene looks noisy. It doesn't look right. Let's give them different wings. And then, like, the animation, is that going to work? Yeah, so consider smaller wings. Consider different move animation for flying units. Should there be more flying units? There's a sort of design / theming question. Like, it doesn't really make a difference to gameplay. It could, but it won't. Not in this game. Like, a flying unit could be more susceptible to lightning. No, I don't think we need that. They could be faster. Yeah, but that's separate from them being flying. You can have fast ground units. There is no difference to a flying unit and a normal unit in this game. So mechanically, we don't need it. But you could imagine the undead having bats. Maybe bats would be more fun than ghouls. Or maybe a bat would be the evolved form of a vampire. So I'll just add another note of, like, just consider adding bats to undead. Or, like, yeah, more flying units. I don't know, because we've got this flying animation now. It should be quite easy to just copy this across. Okay, and then so we also need it for the angels. The Legna, the demonic angels. Yeah. Let me just copy that in each case. VS. And yeah, that is cool. But what's it going to look like if the character's, like, bouncing around like a normal character? Like, I think they should be floating. So if we go to the animator of the character sprite renderer, we have walk. So, I mean, I've used quite a lot of the animator. There's a few ways we could do this. We could just kind of add another one of these, like we would call it float, right? And then there'd be like an if statement, like, is this a floater or a flyer? Or we copy this thing entirely, which sounds like a bad idea, into the new character, and we just change this animation. So that way we don't have to write any code, right? I don't have a problem with writing code, though. I just worry, my only worry is if we have to, every time a unit moves, are we then going to check? Are we then like checking a ball of is this a flying unit or not, right? And then we have to make a ball which is flying or not, which is just for these ones. And then we say, okay, if is, so where's our walk animation? I believe that's in GM, because that kind of controls everything. And we say walk, animate. Here we are. So it's quite simple. Where does this come off anywhere? It's been a while since I've looked at this. Okay, so this is the player controller, and we're literally saying, yeah, so the ball is like, it's just one line of code that tells it whether to use the walk animation or not. And then there's a number of ways we could do this. We could say if character dot flying, and I guess this would be flying is equal to false. Yeah, I was like, what? I don't have that bool yet. No, I don't. Else, and then it would be the exact same thing, except the bool would be is flying, and this would not apply to the hero character yet. And then so each character would need a bool, which is, and I'm just going to pop it here, public bool flying equals false. Okay, and then we go in here taking rather long to compile these days, but that's to be expected. Taking ages to compile. Yeah, late start today because I had to go vote. Which is nice to engage in that. For the council. Wow, it's really taking a long time. If it takes that long again, I'll have to figure out why. But I think it's probably something to do with changing animations and changing the prefabs a little bit. So it's struggling with that and going, okay, let's import all of the prefabs again. Like, it shouldn't have to do that every time, but okay, cool. So we'll make another one like this, which is float. At the moment, we'll just keep that motion walk because we'll need to make a new motion, which is float. But it might just be nothing. What if we can we do that? Can we just say none? Let's say none for now and see what it looks like. And we copy these. We make a new bool, which is flying. And we basically we copy these connections. So make transition there, make transition back, and we just have the same circumstance. So this is idle to walk is walking true. Very simple. So no exit time. Anything about the settings? Fixed duration 0.25. Fixed duration 0.25. And we go is walking, is flying true. And I don't know why it's, yeah, okay, I think that's about right. Yeah, I don't know why it's showing another idle there, but that is all the same. Okay, and then back from there is flying false. Is flying false, and for some reason I put the exit time at 0.5. I'm not going to question it. Just going to copy it. Tick 5, tick 2 5s. Yeah, okay, interruption, and then we say is flying false. Except I can't really see a scenario where it would stop flying. I guess if it gets hit. So it'd be take damage displays, and then we go back to idle, and then if we're flying, then it goes back up there. Okay. And so what does float look like? So if we take our dude, and we've got walk, and let's just add, create a new clip, and I wish it would remember contextually, like if I'm saving an animation, can we start at the same folder? Yeah, so... Oh. Yeah, could we like default to the same folder that we saved the last animation in rather than the same folder that we saved anything in? That would be nice. So animations, where would this go? Where's idle? I mean, this is not a tidy folder, so let's just pop it in. And this is float, I guess. And kind of just like by default a little bit higher up. Oh, we ought to move the wings with that. Okay, interesting. So float is a bit higher, just naturally. How much is a bit? I don't know. 0.5, 0.05. Yeah, I think 0.05 works. So, that's going to be a problem because this is always going to come. But that's why it's animated. That's fine. So let's go with 0.1. Then of course we'll edit it if it doesn't look right. So let's call that 0.1. And 0.1 on the Z as well, because that's how it works. So, and then the wings are also, because they started at 0, which is nice and easy. I can't animate these in the context of the sprite renderer because they're not part of the sprite renderer. Okay. So in each case, this should go in there, except that's a problem because that's a prefab that applies to all of them. That means that they'll all end up with wings if I put it in there. But the sprite renderer carries the animations. This is the kind of problem you run into with the animation. But I think so. Yeah, this will open its own little bit of animation because it's completely different context. And then if I can put this to 1 and 0.1, and then when it's floating, that will be correct, right? Because if it's floating, so yeah, this is just like something that will come with experience of using animations and stuff. So like next time, how would I do this? Yeah, we've just got to be consistent in how we like nest objects. So my feeling is that the animator should go on the whole way that I did the characters is wrong basically, because I've made prefabs that I can then edit. I thought that would be like easier and nicer because it's more of like a visual coding style, but actually it would have been much easier to put all of these parameters in code and then have a constructor. So instead of having, however many hundreds of different prefabs for each character, we would just have one prefab, which is all the characters, and then it has parameters on it, right? And then instead of each one with a different sprite, we just say, when you load the character, make this sprite renderer the sprite of the character. So the whole thing should be different, but instead, I mean, I could without much mental blockage, like I know how, is what I mean to say. I know how I would change this system, but it would be a lot of work. Would it even? Fuck, I don't know. I need to think about this. So I delete all of these prefabs, and I make a constructor for each character, and I say, okay, whenever one of these prefabs is made, you're making it based off of a character. And then basically we need to take each of these things and would need to come from the character. It would be stored as a character, which then gets loaded into like the character prefab. That would make my life easier retroactively. Well, not retroactively. Retrospectively, it would. It would have been better to do it like that. But instead, I've kind of done it like this, and it's kind of, I'm not going to benefit much from changing it now. But anyway, so flapping wings, should they be in the character sprite renderer? Because that's kind of where they belong. I don't know. I'm going to say that this is done. So we have our float animation, and if the character is flying, and then we can take our Legna, our Occupaba, and grab them all, and find that ball and say, yes, you are flying. And then that's that. And then they're flying. And then I need to see them in the scene, basically, in order to know if that's working or not. I expect them to. Okay, let's do that again then. And we're sort of doing a very, very similar operation, except now we're making the additional heads that are going to go on the Cerberus. So let's get a visual reminder of the Cerberus. And we kind of... We could get away with just having these, but smaller. So like let's try like that, and then see if we need to make alterations. So we take our Cerberus, and we go in there, and we would have a thing once again like additional heads. And the issue is things like take damage will not then translate over to do they have a white renderer? Has it not got a sprite? Yeah, it's not got a sprite, so we go spicy. That's why I wasn't looking right. And yeah, so my worry here is that the sprite renderer, so like if we have the additional heads, so yeah, that's what it should look like when they get hit. If we have the additional heads, then whatever happens to this won't then go to the heads. So maybe I can just put it in the prefab. In fact, I think I can, and it would just be like a prefab variant. Let's try that. Let's go back to the Occupaba. So this is, a lot of this is just understanding the way the animation system works. But if we just pop that in there, I don't see any problem. So the wings, we can't tell them where to go positionally. Or maybe we can. So if I grab this animation, so we've got walk, and then I grab this, that's always going to go to this window, but I think I can still animate the wings within that, except they don't need it right now. Yeah, okay. Why is that interpreted as 0.3? Because this is 3, therefore I would think then this is 1. No? Okay, I guess not then. The wings themselves are 3. Okay. Some weirdness there, but I think it's not an issue. Yeah, flapping wings. Okay. Yeah, so we can just put it in the sprite renderer. Okay. I'm going to make that the default, so bear with me. Just popping this inside so that it moves with it, and potentially. So if we look at character sprite renderer and we go animation, take damage. Yeah, the wings come down with the character. So they receive the squash and squish effect as well, but they don't receive they don't have like the white renderer effect, which might look dodgy, which might just look horrible. And then let's look at die. I mean, that is good. That's what you want. It moves with the sprite renderer, and we need that. So it does need to be parented to it. Ultimate. Walk. Yeah. I mean, shit, maybe they can just walk. Hello, Geolime. How's it going? Yeah, but take damage is going to look funky if we don't have the peripherals. If it's not... I mean, maybe that looks fine, but I feel like... Like, could we just red it up a bit? You know, like with the animation. So the thing is, as soon as I grab this, we end up in the animation space here. Are you new to the stream, or have you been here before? Sorry if I don't recognize your name. Thanks for joining. Geoline makes me think of, like, if you went mining and you found some, like, bright green, but, like, tasty, like, gummy in the earth. That's what I think of with a geolime. Yeah, like a rock lime, which lime is also already the name of a rock. Sorry, I'm talking shit. Happy to have you here. Oh, hello, Russian. I've had some Russian friends before. Okay, where was I? So the wings went. So if it's, yeah, the minute I select one of these wings, we end up in the window of that animation. I mean, it might be... So how would I animate these from the sprite renderer? Like, it's funny, like, just a simple thing, just add a peripheral to the image has ended up being quite tricky. Has ended up being quite the trick. I mean, it might be better just to not have any animation on it at all, because it's just a purely visual thing, and it's just the one character. Yeah, this is a survivor-like game. So, you know, like Vampire Survivors or Brotato, except you have an army of units with you. So usually in these games, when you level up, you pick a weapon or a talent, right? Or like that's generally the way it goes. In this, you can also pick an ally, which basically, in the same way that enemies just kind of spawn in, you can pick units that will spawn in on your team, and they will then, of course, fight the other ones. So I can show a little bit, but I'm kind of worried that we're going to run into a lot of bugs. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried about how this animation will go. Like, is it better to have wings that are like so we could go back, right? We could do this and basically just make little wings that aren't animated, that are just hanging off. You know? Or even we could widen we could, just in the case of these ones, widen it so that we have more space for wings. But adding them as an object just adds all this like animation challenge, but it might just be fine. It's been, actually, I started in May last year, so it's been about a year. But you know, on and off, I've had distractions and whatnot. But I think all in, yeah, about 6 months of like uninterrupted work time to work on this. Okay, yeah, thanks for dropping by. Yeah, you can wishlist the game. It's called Warbeans, so that would be cool if you did that. Thank you for dropping by. Yeah, I've got other videos where I'm just actually playing the game. But yeah, I think at the moment that's going to just bring up a lot of bugs if I try that now. And yeah, but yeah, thanks for dropping by. Really appreciate it. Yeah, and we're in the wrong scene as well, so pressing play will not do any good there. Yeah, okay. So is it going to look funky when these guys take damage and stuff, and everything reacts except their wings? Is that going to look weird? Would it be better to have... I mean, at least it morphs with it, but the sprites don't change with it. Okay, let's try with the Cerberus. And so we have additional heads, which I will reset. So the additional heads, and those go in the character sprite renderer. So again, I will reset that. And then we put in sprites. and we can kind of use the progressive. So yeah, I think we'll just use the heads of the other creatures. So my brain is blocking, but we want characters, and we want spicy beans, and we want to grab our like level 1 hound. That's a sprite renderer. Reset the proportions, but then set them to 3. 3, 3. No? Okay. 1 is fine because it's already expanded because of its parent object. Okay, yeah. So then that'll be head L, and then head R. And I don't think we need to animate these. Put these both. So it's like really simple this, but yeah, I'll get rid of this one. Head R. So yeah, so the first thing I like to do, round these up. Or like just round them. And then minus the XPOS, positive the rotation, flip it the other way, and then that is a Cerberus, so that would be head R. And then I don't think we need any animation on this. These will bounce as we walk and so on. But again, we have this problem of they won't change color for the take damage. But maybe that's fine. Maybe it's better to just have them there. And maybe, yeah, and then they'll just evolve with their like hound counterpart heads. So if we said we will make a prefab because we've already made a folder for it, so additional heads goes in here, and then we look at just our Cerberus. So Cerberus, shit, I should have got my dude. Oh, did I not put it in prefabs? Okay, so character peripherals, additional heads goes in here. Effects, character peripherals, additional heads. There you are. Copy that so I don't have to drag that again. Oh wait, additional heads goes in the sprite renderer with with the clear transform. That makes sense. And then I'll just keep copying that, so that's there, and then Cerberus 3 has one inside the sprite renderer, and Cerberus 4 has one. And then we can start saying, hey, these are spicy. And I wonder if it should just be the same head, or if it should be its like corresponding hound. I think corresponding hound is probably fine. Or it should just be like just the same head as itself, because I don't know if the color slit shift is slightly jarring. Yeah. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that works, I think. Okay. And let's just see how that plays out. I mean, that should just be there. It doesn't interact with anything else. Does it leave a shadow? Does it need to leave a shadow? Like, how much detail are we going with here? Let's just see if it works. Let's just see if it looks normal and looks right, you know? Let's see how it plays in the scene and what comes up. Because, again, we are sort of going for quantity a bit over quality. So that will be the angel wings and the Cerberus extra heads. Tentacle wobbling. I'm going to put a pin on that. Basically, the tentacle, I think, to sell it as a tentacle, I guess I just kind of want to see how does... So it doesn't have a walk animation because it's not going to move. But it will have an idle animation. I mean, that's probably fine. I'm just going to leave that as it is. Just because, like, if I want to add more detail, I can. But the tentacle might... I mean, the whole thing might change. So we just want to get to the stage where we've kind of got all the pieces in our game. And then if we want to change some pieces, we can. But at least they're all there. And when we're looking at, like, oh, let's draw some things. I don't have 100 things to draw. I have, like, 5 things to draw. You know. Kaikum. Yeah, okay, so this is an easy one. Knock this off the bloody list. Having a good time. So we... save, make sure this is saved, and then open up talents, so just in the raw thing, because there's no like subcategory of talents, it's just here's all the talents. And we have, where's our okay, yeah, so we have Flame of the West, Spark of, was it? Yeah, something fire, Spark of Life, and what did I call it? Frostbite or Rigor Mortis. It's called Rigor Mortis. And then there is going to be one, which is the demon version of this, which has all 3. And I think this is a simple, except it's not a simple matter because I can't, like, ideally I would just scale these things down. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have to draw manually things that look the same. So let's put Flame in the middle, and we just want a little, so like we want, I just kind of want to block it out. So we have like Flame, Lightning, and Ice, right? So yeah, Flame looks like this. It's a flame. So we have the little spikies. That's, we can do better than that. Spikies, 2 spikies always. Separates it from being something else that looks like a flame but isn't a flame. And then on the inside we have our... I've kind of gotten better at drawing fire. Like I'm more consistent. Like I just want... We match the shape on the inside. I don't just need to draw random crap. I just need to... Because, yeah, these bits are too big. And then if we had our lightning, so I just need to draw this S. I mean, we could go with a different symbol entirely. This is very sloppy here, but... And then we need like a little ice crystal. So yeah, I might have got my like... So I did that blocking out to try and sort of... So maybe... elongated with, I guess, little, looks like I've drawn little cracks of, right. Oh, is that not that color? Okay, so it's this one. Little sort of fragmented pieces, kind of ends up looking like some ice. And this is the symbol for the random, for Kaikum, which basically adds a random one of these 3. And that is the demon version. This one's for the humans, this one's for the greenskins, this one's for the undead, this one's for the demons. Not necessarily better, just has all of them. not all of them combined. It chooses one at random. So if you're looking for a specific one, then the specific one is better. Obviously, like if you've got something that synergizes with frost or flame, then you're going to want that. I think, so I'm just going to copy this. I think the lightning bolt should go in the middle. So I'll just delete that. Move the lightning bolt to the middle here. Grab our fireball and pop that over here. And actually, I think the fireball should, the lightning bolt could be even closer, even a bit more to the right, and then the fireball over here. And could we just move it one pixel to the right? Just so it's not clipping the edge. Yeah, I think that looks good. Again, nothing too crazy. It's just I'm not very good at drawing, but what I can do is give you the information you need to play the game, so you can look at this and understand that it is these three combined. Okay, and then because of the way importing sprites works in Unity, it could be better. I have some notes. I'm just going to have a quick look at talents. So yeah, talents. So if I add one to this, it's going to make a new row, and then it's and from the point of view of this, it's going to move everything up by one, right? So if I whereas what I would like for it to do is, if I give it an image that is slightly larger than the previous one, I would like for these, what do you call them, sprites, these boxes here, to align themselves to the top of the image. But no, instead what will happen is, if I add to this to the bottom, the top, like if I add another row to the bottom, they'll all move down with it, and the top ones will either it just does it wrong. And I get why. It's because it's like position, like here is this is 0, but this is 0 in Y, because that's the bottom. Makes sense, right? But no, I think this should be like 0 in Y, and then we go down, we go into the negative, just because yeah. So I'm gonna, so what you generally have to do is add these things at the top, which is really annoying, but it is less annoying than having to, and I kind of have to say, all right, so if that's 6 by, then I will also export 6 by, right? Try, because what I don't want to have to do is redraw that every time. Is basically to, every time I change this, is to kind of have to move everything. You see how, you see what it did there? You see what it did there? So, like, it's added them to the bottom. So the ones at the top end up clean, where these are supposed to come up, right? That's how it should be. So I don't know how they could do that. I don't know how often this comes up. I imagine it would come up a fair bit, because it's come up with me, so I can't be the only one. And so what we need to do, the easiest way to do this will be to, so make an empty, just make 5 empties. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then what that will do, accept. like this. So it's just really awkward. So that's correct. So now we haven't lost our position. The boot is indeed the first one. And then all I have to do is make another one over here. And that's it. That's really easy, right? And I can actually name it because there's few enough. Right? But if I put this at the bottom, then it would have just moved everything down, and I would have to manually move each of these one by one, which is a pain in the bloody ass. So it would be nice if by default, if I expand a sprite down, then if we could keep the top at the top, because that's intuitive. But no, instead, I kind of have to add things from the bottom. But, you know, I don't know if most... Because this is my style is very, very rapid, agile development. As in, I see a problem, I go and fix it. And sometimes I get it wrong. But the time it takes for me to plan to get it right is greater than the time I lose getting it wrong and then just kind of seeing it live, you know. And so maybe other developers start with the... Like, they just make their whole sprite sheet the first time. But I don't know. So because I'm adding to this as I go. I'm going, oh, okay, yeah, I need more talents now. Okay, I need more talents. Oh, let's make another one, and let's not replace the old one just in case we want it back. Let's just make it fresh and new. I'm adding to this sprite list, and I don't want to have to make new sprites. I don't want to have to shuffle these every time. So I have to kind of put them at the top, and yeah, it's just annoying. And I wish there was some better way of handling that. I mean, I guess with you could just get an AI, be like, look, just get the same images. That's how it's going to work soon, I think. If that's, you know, actually, like, if you can afford the server space. Or you just do it manually, like I'm doing it. Anyway, sorry, rant over. We have our Kaikum sprite. And so we want to simply go into GM all the way down to Demon Talents. What are we looking? Are we looking at weapons here? Have I got this wrong? I think we're looking at weapons. No, we want upgrades. It started off quite small, these bits, but I can see how these got way out of hand. These massive, massive lists that are a bit of an effort to scroll through. I can just use page down, but okay, there's Kaikum. And at the moment, we are not changing the look of evolved. Like, as you level up a talent, it doesn't get a different look. But we have the space for it. So at the moment, they all just have the same sprite. Okay, and these are all unused. Yeah, unused, so I don't need to worry about them. Because, you know, if I change something, like if I delete it, I just leave it in the game. Like, I comment it out or whatever. Because I just think you might want to go back, you know. Okay. So that is Kaikum. That's the sprite for that done. We still need to test. Actually, I did test it out recently, but you know, things might have changed since then. Universal Claw, right? So the Hound here, I think, has a claw, and so how does that work? Let's pop that in. So we go weapon container, and we make this sprite the... Do we have claw there? No, so weapons. And then, yeah, I mean, there's lots of different claws. So which one does the... Yeah, I guess it would be... It would look like this one. So we go green weapons, and it's one of these. There we go. It's our claw. And so my thinking is like, so I need to, so if I go to claw, it's going to get that, and that is weapons, claw, And so yeah, we have Warg Claw, we have Undead Claw, I think. And so those are two different types of claws. But as we've gone along, we've found a lot of different characters that will just use a claw. So this is like a monster. It doesn't use a weapon. It uses a claw. So what I can do is make one claw for each unit, right? So we would have and it's the same. It's just the color changes. It's the same item, but we have an undead claw. We have a because at this level, so if we go to a ghoul uses the same sprite. It's just a different color. It just matches the color of the ghoul. What I would like to do, I mean, they could have different claws, like not just visually, but I think we can have like a universal weapon, which is a claw. Which I think if I manually, but I need to investigate this. So melee swing changes ranged shot, and I think it's like rest changes the sprite renderer's color. So that means I won't be able to just change, because what I would kind of like to do is have a white one. So if we go to this one that's for the white wolf, and then just make it match the color like that. Except, of course, once we start doing this animation, that will reset. So we can't really do that. So I think the best thing is actually to make a different claw, even if that's just changing the color. And then the easiest way to reflect that here is actually just to make this weapon over and over again. This is using the values of the Warg Claw, which is good. The same sound effect, the same effect prefab. It's just the sprite that changes. So we would want to make more of these, which means we need them in the upgrade as well. Like it's a bit annoying to just add a weapon that is essentially completely the same as another one. But I think this is probably the best method, and it does mean that I would be able to change some stats about each of them, and I can make them look different. Not just, but I think what I am going to do is, yeah, I am just going to use the same one. So we go to, so that's that. Save that. Use okay, yeah, save that. Use this to make to open weapons. And we have green weapons, and we have our Warg Claw, which straight away is not very good. So for one thing, that pixel there made it look more blunt. These should be here. And then otherwise we have a sort of organic shape. Like I could go in and do that, but I think that removes some of its organicness. But it should have shading, right? Yeah, it should have shading. So what? How and yes, and it needs to match the color of the wargs. So is this good? I mean, I've been using this in the game. It seems to work fine. Can we do better? It definitely needs shading. So if we just take this, make a darker color, and we go up like this. And then, yeah, how... I mean, if it's a Warg Claw, it should probably have fingernails. Like, not all claws will have fingernails, but now that we are kind of demanding a slightly higher level of detail from ourselves than we did before. Because before I was kind of like, whatever. You know, I just wanted it to look like a claw. But maybe we can do a bit better, because yeah, what would we expect to see here? We would expect to see some claw, wouldn't we? I don't know what color that would be it would be the, like, yeah, just kind of yellowish, I guess. So let's go with like, just kind of gives it a bit more zhuzh. Right, that's slightly better, isn't it? Than without. Like between the shading and the fingernails, that looks a lot better now, doesn't it? And then we can kind of say, will an undead claw? I mean, yeah, I think they should essentially be the same. They should be iterations on each other, just to save myself time. It's just a bloody claw. It's just a weapon for a character that doesn't have weapons. And it just adds a bit of sharpness. Yeah, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to take a little break. Just like 5 minutes or so while I have a cup of tea. And then I will come back and I will go through and make sure that every single creature has its own claw, which is going to be a bit of a pain, but it's fine. That's the job. That's the only thing I need to focus on. Sort the fucking claws out. We could just give this claw to the hound, and actually probably people wouldn't notice because the colour is mostly the same. But I feel like that's a little bit cheap. It's a bit too cheap. Like, it doesn't have to be beautiful, but I would like for it to be consistent and for it to not look like it's low effort, right? I want it to feel like it's a good effort in. So yeah, I will leave. Yeah, I will be back shortly. What's this one? Yeah, I'll be back shortly. All right, cheers. Making tea. Putting a jumper on. Okay. Claws. Right. So we know this one. This one, and this one is one of the more complicated ones because the warg changes color as it evolves. So I mean, I just like getting the color over here. It's like classic painting. So our palette, just so I can copy this in, just override it. Delete and copy, delete and copy, and then in each case take this color and get a darker version of the same hue. Darker version of the same hue for the shade. And then of course get rid of these little palettes that I've made. And there we are, we've improved the warg claw. So the next thing, so who else has a claw? Is the zombie and the white. So make a new Piscal window and open up the black weapons, where somewhere in here we have, yeah, right at the bottom, that's good, we have the zombie claw. And so I am going to start by, and these are all the same, so I don't need to like worry about losing anything. And we want this exact color, and I guess this color is good because these are taken from the zombie itself. And the fingernails though, so the zombie doesn't have claws, but what he might have is like, shit, I probably should have like kept my color for blood, but generally I think blood looks good when you take a really bright red. And so I'm going to delete like the claw element of it. We'll keep that fingernail color because I think it just kind of works well. And we want, yeah, I mean, I guess just instead of that, just, and I feel like the blood on the tips of the zombie's fingers makes it look more dangerous. And in the case of the zombie, it's not going to change from level to level. Okay. But then we also, there's another character that uses the claw here. And so we did call it Undead Claw. And we're going to change Undead Claw. Okay, good, it's not up there. So Undead Claw becomes Zombie Claw. And then, yeah, basically, so yeah, and then Undead Claw. Okay, yeah, so we want to call this Zombie Claw. Zombie, 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 zombie. Good. And Zombie Claw and White Claw. Okay, that should do that. And so, before we forget, let's just do one faction at a time. I think that's nice. And yeah, basically each thing that has a claw should have the name of the type of claw before it. So let's go to, yes, we go to our black beans. So the warg claw already has, it's already called the warg claw. But the ghoul, so yeah, it wasn't the white, it was the ghoul. So I need to go in and white. Yep. And then that happens in... Yeah, so it's annoying. I have to do it in weapons and upgrades as well. I mean, it's annoying. It's my own design. White. So yeah, claw. And so luckily claws in terms of upgrades, so warg claw just comes in this allies only section. So if we look at black beans, not weapons. Yeah, weapons. Tier 1, Tier 2, allies only. Zombie claw. Banshee cry, and then we also have ghoul claw. So silly. Like, I wanted to try and find a way to kind of have them all use a universal claw. And just kind of change the color of it and stuff like that. But I think it's easy. I think this is the best way to do it, actually. To just copy and paste these big lumps of text. These big lumps of... parameters. Okay, so then we need to grab the ghoul and make sure that he's not using undead claw. He's not using undead claw as it says there. He's using zombie claw. I mean, we could even do a thing like name of character plus claw, but no, we'll just manually, we'll go in and I'll exit the prefab. Oh, yeah, we've hidden everything. So we go ghoul, let's copy paste that. I'll copy paste the whole phrase. And go ghoul claw 2, ghoul claw 3, ghoul claw 4, and then the zombie is going to be wanting to use. Because, yeah, like the flesh golem doesn't use a claw anymore. That's right. Zombie. I wonder if the ghoul could be a bat. Yeah, something to think about. I think I've written that down. Consider adding... Yeah, consider replacing ghoul with bat. Just to really kind of lean into the Vampire Survivors vibe. You know, I think it's fun to reference that and to just have bat. Like, you can't have a survivor like without bats. And what are ghouls doing, really? Like, I don't have a problem with the ghouls, but they're not the most exciting characters. So yeah, I think bats would probably be better. Right. So we need our... yeah, so we were going to open up characters, black beans, and we have the color for our ghoul. Where is our ghoul? Should be like near the top. See, that's how unremarkable he is. So this is our ghoul. We have not to be confused with a zombie. Basically the same thing though, isn't it? So I think this would be better off as a bat, especially since we have the wings. I want to use the wings again. And it kind of means that I can like put more effort into making the wings look good if they're sort of missing anything. And yeah, So I probably will make that change. This is like, there's nothing wrong with this, but you know. And if we're doing that, yeah, I mean, I guess I would have to go in and change Bat Claw. So let's copy this. I would have to change and make a Bat Claw. So that is, if I just copy a section, then I've got my palette. Well, we've kind of done it now, but yeah, like so. What would I guess the bat would also have a claw, and it would just be a little black claw. And then what we would do is say, okay, let's just add that to this sprite sheet, or let's just replace this one with the bat claw, and just replace all instances of the word ghoul with bat. And then I think that gives the undead more diversity. I mean, yeah, I can't. I love this guy, little vampire, like a Dracula's vampire. He's like leveled up quite a lot, and then and then ascends into final vampiric form. And I just think that looks cool. I'm sad we don't see more of it, but there he is. Yeah, you know, I'm not a terrible artist. Obviously, I'm not the best, but this ghoul is like, we wouldn't miss him too much. We would rather have a bat. But then does the bat just kind of have... Yeah, the bat would kind of have this face. But then we would expect... But then that opens up another thing. See, game design is so much fun. If we have a bat... we would expect to be able to blend that bat with a vampire. So I need to have a look. So I'm having a look at my design here. Stop playing that video. I want to watch it later. We have a bat. So yeah, here's our vampire lord. And is it already connected with ghoul? No, ghoul mixes with grave to make tomb. But what if we swapped that around a bit and made it so that the ghoul mixes with vampire? So the bat mixes with vampire to make vampire lord, which makes all of the sense in the world and is beautiful. And then the skeleton archer mixes with the bat to make the tomb. No. So that would be ghoul. So I'll just copy this, just because I don't want to lose the old one, because that will you know, then because then we've lost then we kind of lose the old connections. But if we say ghoul. So the bat, so let's just call this bat here. The bat combines with vampire to make vampire lord. That makes all of the sense in the world. And then that has left skeleton archer to be the one that combines with the grave to make tomb, which also kind of makes sense. It's fine. The skeleton archer, what else would it go into? And that works. Yeah, okay. So... we are going to go ahead with this bat change. I think that is an improvement. Replace ghoul with bat. And this is an easy part, just to mirror what I've just done there. So we just have to go into the prereqs of tomb, and the tomb requires skeleton. No, definitely requires grave. Skeleton archer, and the vampire lord requires we'll just call it ghoul for now. And then wait, that's it, isn't it? So we just go ghoul. So we changed the one that it's coming from, and we changed the one that it's going to. And then Skeleton Archer was going to make Vampire Lord, which didn't make sense. Okay, yeah. Cool, yeah, that works. And then we just need to change the word everywhere, and I'm going to need to draw the new sprite. And while I'll keep the old one, I'll keep it in the same spot so that, you know, we don't have to mess around with all that nonsense. And what does a bat look like? I mean, I guess I'll take elements of this. Maybe I'll have those ears. And we can do the same thing with the wings. Except because they're sort of white, we can just make them black. We can just darken them. Without having to redraw them. And the bat, I don't know. So, yeah. Replace ghoul with bat, so we need to draw that. Okay, let's carry on with what we were doing with this universal claw before we move on to that. So that's a decision that was made. Bit of game design, world building on the fly. That's fine. So next up is so we want to go through any character that is using a claw. And I think I can do this from memory. So the gargoyle uses a claw. Could he use something else? The goat uses a healing staff. The gremlin uses a loot sack. That makes sense. The hound uses a claw. So the hound should use hound claw. Copy the word hound with a space after it and just go in and yeah. Quite gets it there. There we go. Save that. Save that. Save that. That's because it's open. Right. The imp uses a fireball. Occufiber uses lightning. Succubus uses whip. Cultist uses icicle. Floating shield uses a shield. So I think the gargoyle. Thing is, I worry about the lack of symmetry. The gargoyle could use a bident. But then, because it's just symmetry, but maybe symmetry is silly. The gargoyle should use... Could they use a bident? Am I just doing that because I'm lazy? So we have the hound and the yeah, so we'll call this Cerberus Claw, because it's just going to be a slightly different colour. So we've got the Hound Claw and the Cerberus Claw to make, and that's it. And then maybe the Gargoyle Claw as well. Because the bident just ends up being like a long-range weapon. Because we do actually have... what do we call it? Do I just call it claw? Because that would be silly if I did. We do have... yeah, what do I call it? I've got it right here. This is my big cheat sheet. So I can do this. Skeleton Archer to Tomb. Ghoul to Vampire Lord. And Yeah, what was I looking at? Claw. It's just called Claw. Okay, well that's not going to work. Well, I guess it will work now. But the claw will be a weapon that the character can use, but that's like a Wolverine claw. That's a different thing. I wonder if we should have... Yeah. Could the wargs just use that? That would create symmetry. And then that would just leave the hammer kind of unused, but that's actually also an easy fix. So this would save us some time. So these guys can just use claws. So it will look like... So yeah, we've got our hound open there. It will look like... like that. No, I don't think that works. But then we've got claw. That, let's just say, as far as the symmetry goes, that is a claw. And then we just need one of these characters to be using... So one of them can use a Bident. And another one... This guy's spoken for... This guy's... The Gremlin could use a claw instead of a loot sack. It could. That's gonna... Oh, thought it was going to take a long time. The Gremlin could use a claw. Someone ought to be... And then the Gargoyle could use the hammer. Or the Gremlin could use the Bident. And the... Because the loot sack is just... it's just a standard melee weapon. It doesn't matter. But it kind of really determines them as loot gremlins. It kind of shows, yeah, this is a character that's all about collecting stuff for you. But if we gave them a Bident, that would also kind of look fairly on theme. I mean, so yeah, if we've got this Gargoyle, he could have a claw. He could also have wings, but I don't think he should. He could have a claw. But I think he can have the Bident. Or the hammer. And then... The demon has the sword. So we've got the 3 elements, and then you've got the sort of spiritual claw, if not the actual claw. The whip, which is like an entirely different thing. I mean, we could give her the claw, but I think I like her theming. She's a buffer. So in that case, we would give the Gremlin. But no, I like him having the loot sack. I think. Well, actually, it's not essential. It's just like you kind of get that there's loot characters here, and it doesn't have to be a loot sack. So the Gargoyle might have fun with the what do we call it? The Chaos Hammer. Yeah, the Gargoyle might have fun with the Chaos Hammer, and the Gremlin might have fun with the Bident. And it sort of makes sense as like a Gremlin with a Bident. It's like poking at people. So let's do that. So I will. It's actually easier to do this without these open. So we go Bident, and then just this way we've kind of got better parity, better balance, or like symmetry is the word I'm looking for. And like symmetry does not necessarily make the game better. It's something I think about a lot. Like my want for symmetry, does it actually improve things, like with the elements and stuff? And I think it's like, yeah, having symmetry is good because it creates a sort of baseline of balance, but the fun part is where the symmetry breaks. So it's like not to be too attached to symmetry, but to kind of let it, you know, kind of like don't get too attached to it, but it's not a bad thing. Gremlin, he definitely has Bident, yeah. And the Gargoyle should have Chaos Hammer, Chaos Hammer 2, Chaos Hammer 3. Chaos Hammer, 4. Right. So then the Hound is the only one with the claw, and we could give him just the claw. Or we could draw a new one for him. I need to think about, like, in terms of what it does for the game, it doesn't make much difference. So is it worth the effort? Like, the easy thing for me would be to just give them this one. Especially in how that in how that works for the Cerberus as well. So I think I'm going to do that. Yeah. So Hound Claw becomes just Claw. Claw. And we do the same thing. Yeah, we'll just grab and delete those. So a fair bit of going back and forth, but it's, you know, it's fun to think about these things. Yeah, I mean, yeah, claw. Well, let's just do copy this, and then just do that on all of them. And again, this provides a nice baseline. Like, if I think it looks weird or if it does mess with balance, then we'll change it. But yeah, Cerberus, I shouldn't double click when I'm doing these. Okay, so then we're just gonna delete the word Cerberus in each case. And they are using the same claw that the player uses, and that's fine. So they go to having 2 claws. It's pretty vicious. Maybe they should have 3, like, weaker ones, but it's going to be tough to balance for sure. Again, like these kind of fun little things where we like say, oh well, this character should have 3 weapons, or like this character should have an entirely different weapon, or maybe this one has loads of health but like barely any movement speed. Like that's we've got a bit of that, but that's the kind of fun thing that we do when we get to like real. So here's a thing about game dev, and I think it's a thing that a lot of people don't consider. So what they'll say, and this is good practice, is to test everything every time you commit a change, is to fully test it, so that you don't end up with like, you know, so you're in the zone of like which bit of code you've changed, and then so if something's wrong, it's easier to find the problem. But when you're gaming as a solo dev, when you're making games as a solo dev without people to help you, without QAs, you are your QA. And there is a limit to how many times you can play a game and give useful feedback on it, right? Like, so while perhaps I should test each of these things as they're updated, what I want to do is get a bunch of things in the game and then test them all at once. Because I know, I mean, I'm already, like, I get bored of the game. Having played it for way more hours than I expect anyone who buys the game to play it for. I'm kind of bored of it. And, you know, so I really have to, like, kind of get into character and think about how to do this, basically. And I need to be strategic with how and when I decide to like actually play the game and test these things. So yeah, so what I want to do is get like as much stuff as I can stacked in before I start like playtesting again, because I don't want to have to keep popping in and out. Like I want to get, okay, like we've done the demons now, and now I can start testing them. So yeah, demon shield for floating shield and more. Okay, so yeah, universal claw. I'm confident that we've kind of done that. We've got our ghoul, who now uses, except it's going to turn into a bat, so never mind. We've got our zombie, which uses zombie claw. We have our, and then we've decided that the Hound and the Cerberus are going to use the Demon Claw, but we can change that later. And so one of the things I need to do to confidently tick that off the list is go into weapons and find these gaps, because where it said Undead Claw, we now have 2. So we go into sprites. Did I export the sprite? So make sure export 9 columns. And so are we going to run into this issue again? Black weapons. And let's have a look. What has that done to the sprite sheet? Because it's going to move. If you've been watching the stream up until now, you'll know that I have problems with how unit. Like I think it's like a very fair oversight, but I think it is something that could be drastically improved. Because as you can see here, I have added new sprites to the bottom of the page, making the thing taller. And it would be really nice if the way that it imports the sprites made it so that these boxes all align to the top. And then all I would have to do is make a few new ones. But instead, I'm going to have to be a bit fucking fiddly. So, in the end, what I'm going to have to do is move these to the top. It's a real pain in the ass. Because these aren't the first weapons. These are the last weapons. And there's a sort of order to it that's based on the archetypes and so on. But it means I have to move all of these up to the top and then make 4 empty spaces, which is extremely frustrating. It's just, does it have to be like this, you know? Could Unity not make it so that, like, it just seems intuitive to me that by default, the sprite editor would, like, if we make a sprite bigger, then all of the things should move to the top. But this is Y0. I think this should be Y0. And that way, when we align them, we kind of go into the negative Y down here. And that way, when we re-import, like, that would just be better, wouldn't it? Okay. And then 4 empty ones. Or maybe what people want is for me to not constantly update and add to my sprite sheets, but to get it right the first time. Which, I don't know, I think that's like telling a chef that they can't taste what they're cooking while they cook. That they have to come up with the menu. They have to figure out what the dessert is before they've before they've eaten. So now everything's aligned. This is what we expect. So this is the first, everything is in its right place, and all I have to do is add these. And I just find that really annoying that it has to be like this, because this isn't the first weapon. This is like an afterthought weapon. This is an ally weapon. But there it is at the top. Annoying. Anyway, I'm going to rant about this as often as it comes up. I don't know if that's a priority for like Unity to fix it. But I don't see who benefits from it being that way. I think that there's no way that it's better that way than the way I'm suggesting. Unless someone can explain to me why. But, here we are. We did it. We got through it. And then Banshee Cry, like I don't know what's going on with that. Banshee Cry. What's going on with Banshee Cry? So like, so the Banshee Cry, she does a cry which is like a debuff, but I feel like it would make sense to have a visual representation of the cooldown, so it's like actually a weapon that we can see. We could make it an invisible weapon. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. We did the Succubus Whip, we did the Demon Bow. Are they in? Are they in? So I don't think they're in. Just gonna knock that off the list while I can see it. So I think the Gorgon, which is probably one of my favorite sprites, just because these two snakes are like they're kissing each other, and as she evolves, the snake comes out of her mouth, and then gets a face, and I just love it. It's one of the best drawings I've ever done, I think, which is not saying much, but okay. So we've just given her bow, but I think she should have demon bow. So we'll just copy the word demon with a space after. So then she just becomes like a buffer who also does damage. And we have demon bow. And I also wanted to do this for, like, the orcs are just using the same bow as the humans, which is probably fine. Like, it's just wood. But if we come in here and say, like, so yeah, here's a Chaos Hammer Claw. And then we get into ally only, and I will find. Did we used to have green? We did used to have green bow. Do we still have that? We do. Yeah. So that would be the green skin bow. What about black bow? So I thought this was. Is it? I'm just thinking. I thought black bow was a ally only weapon. Oh no, we can have the bow. Okay, you can just have a bow as the undead. Okay, but I do want to basically just copy the stats of that over to yeah, so they've got black shield, ghoul claw. Yeah, so these are ones that are ally only, as in the player can't have them. So we pop that in here and we say black bow. Let's change the word black for demon to demon. Okay, and then I think what we'll do is we'll keep the sounds the same. And then we do need to put space for the sprites, so we go up to, and again, this has gotten quite weighty. If I was to add more, I would probably separate the factions. But here we are, spicy, tier 1, tier 2, and then ally only, unused. Oh, okay, we don't have an ally only section up here, so we do. Is that how I've done it before? Yeah, allies only. So let's keep that style, allies only. And we want, just copy this, just because it's nearby. And this is a demon bow. And we will take the word giant and replace it with the word demon. And then we have our thing in place. And we have our references covered there. Okay, so then we have a demon bow, and then that is there, and we need, so how do we do it here? Green bow. So yeah, we don't need to do the sprites for it again, but if we're looking at allies only, get black bow. What's crazy? Oh, okay, that's the wrong description. Why has it got that description? It's just all over. Yeah, it's axe. Okay, never mind. We'll fix that later. We want the demon bow down here, allies only, and this is a demon bow. Simple, simple. Right. The things we have to go through just to add a bow. Not too bad, is it though, right? And then I just want to quickly assign those. So we are just knocking annoying little drawing and animation and little jobs off the list while also doing a bit of design. So, you know, yeah, good day so far. I think that universal claw is done. Succubus whip is done, but I do want to double check now that the whip has, I mean, we just see these big empty gaps, but here we are in green beans, black beans, Banshee Cry, yeah, so we still need to do that. There's our demon bow, and we've already drawn it, so we go sprites, weapons, spicy weapons. We should have our demon bow in there. And of course, demon bow effect sprite. So we don't need that because the arrows are going to be the same. So we go just don't need these. I won't save that just yet. And then the whip. Where do we keep the whip? Oh, we don't have a whip yet. Okay, so that needs to be done in code. So we are in allies only, and we're going to do whip. And I'm going to copy from... We don't have whip anywhere? I didn't define whip. No, I haven't done anything for it. Okay, so we need to define what the whip is. And so we're going to take the banner. It's the exact same thing as the banner, except for a little twist. Green bean, black bean, spicy bean. Tier 1, Tier 2, ally only. Bow. And then we take the word banner, change it to whip. Get back to it again, and what's the problems here? Whip sound, whip effect. Okay, yes, we don't have whip sound and whip effect, so we need those. Oh, lots of scrolling up and down. It's my own fault for... Well, I mean, you know, we're near the end, so I'm not too worried about scale. Whip. And so the whip will actually do damage. 5. We'll just keep it at 5. So as it kind of scales with stronger units, like they won't really mind taking 5 damage. You could end up killing your own units. You could end up like, like if there's no enemies around, you're just caning your own army. So it could be a problem. We could change it entirely. We might not go with this in the end. We could make her more of a charm character. So her whip would be something that targets enemies. Yeah, her whip would be something that targets enemies and charms them and just has a really long cooldown. But at the moment, it's a buff. See how that plays out. If she's not doing a buff, I don't know who is. We could just do the buff without the damage. Like, there's lots of things, but we'll see how this plays out. I'm excited to see how it plays out. Demon Bow is in. Faction-specific staffs, I did that. We'll see if we run into problems. So we need a little generic... And then, yeah, this would also be... So we need a generic little sprite. So let's just, while we've got this open. So yeah, we've got our gap there. So we need something like just a little, very generic little wisp of jizz, basically. To show that the Banshee's weapon is on cooldown or not. Right? Just so you can kind of see it doing something. So just a very generic little... like object. That will just, you know... I don't know what it should look like. And this will be the image for the Banshee Cry, basically. And because it's like just an ally weapon, we don't need it to like evolve with each iteration. We're just kind of having this thing next to the character that shows that it has something on cooldown. And I'm really not going to put too much into it. I just want the placeholder. So we export this again, and there shouldn't be any issues because we've done it in the blank spaces. And then we can kind of copy that over to the demons and make it red. And yeah, we are not... See, all these little annoying things on the list. That's what we've got today. And then, yeah, we're going to do the same for Demon Mirror and Demon Shield, and it's going to be the same sprite. It's fine. It's just to show that they're... like, for a character who is a shield, they need something to be the shield so that we can see it. So we can see when it's on cooldown or not. I mean, you probably could just not. You could just get by without seeing it. But... and then, so that means that the Banshee Cry has that. Okay. And then, so we'll take this, go to, do we have another one open? Yeah, we'll use this, save that, import, open up, ready for lunch, open up weapons, spicy weapons, and then where are we going to put it? So if we look at spicy weapons, yeah, we'll have to put them at the top, which is annoying, very annoying, but we'll put it at the top. So we go spicy weapons, and we make a new one at the top. And we'll just make 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And in here, we'll do this, and we will use our demon colors. So we will take, like, I guess these ones, these colors here, and make that there. Just sort of generic little wisp thing that tells us that the demons. Like, if you are a shield, how do we show that your shield is cooled down? Unless we did some, like, funky code that, like, would fade out the character a little bit. No. Or we have no character, but the shield is quite big. I just think then it would feel off-center. No, I think this is the easiest way. And so we'll just, for the sake of consistency and whatnot, just copy that over a few times. Export. Make sure it's 8 by 8 columns. Download spicy weapons in here. Now we open this, and then if we open the sprite editor, we'll see 4 spaces at the top, and we just grab them, and then where do we put them? I haven't actually made the demon mirror and the demon shield yet, so we do have so let's keep this space. I'll just put a bit there just so we get a little nice little red line so I can keep that spot. And we go shield. And we find where we actually define the shield, the first shield. If I just go shield with this, then yeah, it takes me to the actual bit. And I'll copy that in. Shield, and then we call this demon shield. Going to highlight the word shield so I can see it easier. Yeah, I'm very ready for lunch. I think I'm going to go help my kid, get my kid from nursery. Just because it's a nice little walk. Bit of exercise and a bit of childcare, you know. So yeah, I'm going to go do that. I'll be back at 1 o'clock if you want to join me for the stream then, where we will... Yeah, I think what we're going to do is, I'm just knocking these things off the list as I see them. I think what we'll do is we'll actually go in to the humans and just kind of give them a bit of a glow up. So pass and export other weapons. Yeah, I kind of did that. But like basically go through some of the weapon, just like go through the existing sprite sheets and just, so yeah, glow up humans. That's basically what I want to do. And then yeah, black bow, demon bow, description. I mean, there are lots of descriptions need doing. That's going to be a whole job of going through them all, but you know, just the ones I notice, I'll grab them as I see them. And yeah, we've got our little red sprites, and I just need a bit more to do there. So I'll come back at 1 and do those on stream. And yeah, okay, thanks for joining. See you at 1 o'clock. Have a good one. Bye.